Welcome to the selected ones. They aren't upset because you are noisy. They're upset because your silence implies what? Their shouts were ineffective. Have you ever noticed how certain individuals become twitchy when you go in and say nothing? You did not disrespect them. You did not even glance at them. You're simply breathing. And now they're altering their stance to avoid explaining or laughing too hard at jokes that aren't even humorous. Here is the truth. According to psychologists, individuals often respond forcefully to things they don't comprehend, particularly when they subtly threaten their identity. And you choose one. You are a living contradiction to their need for acceptance, attention, and loudness. You have a stillness that feels like thunder. You stroll with peace, and it feels like war. You aren't attempting to intimidate anybody, but you are silent. Strength is causing them bodily discomfort. Sick, even. Why? Because your sheer presence reveals their insecurity. They realize you are not one of them, and they are not incorrect. This is not just envy. This is current psychological disturbance. So let us speak about it. Let us discuss why your quiet is slowly hurting their ego, and why you should never reduce that power. First and foremost, you do not want attention, but it still follows you. You don't seek attention. However, it always manages to find you. And that is precisely why they dislike you. You go into a room and people notice you, not because you're attempting to stand out, but because something about you upsets the regular atmosphere. You don't talk loudly, don't display material possessions, and don't act. However, your very existence alters the environment, and you make no effort to control this. It simply happened, and that calm magnetism drives people insane, particularly those who want continuous attention in order to feel alive. They publish, gloat, and declare every step as a press release, looking for plaudits. You, on the other hand, walk quietly yet create noise without uttering a word. You don't need other people's attention to feel significant. And that's unusual. It makes people uncomfortable because you demonstrate that genuine power does not beg. You're not aiming to be the center of the universe, but gravity keeps attracting people to you. That simple pull reveals exactly how hard others work to be noticed. What gets under their skin is the fact that you have something they can't replicate. Confidence without performance. Value without validation. When someone is unable to copy you, their next step is generally to dislike you, since they understand that charm without desperation is dangerous. It sheds light on their neediness. It highlights the distinction between attention and respect. They may use every technique in the book to be noticed, but they will always feel invisible in comparison to someone who makes no effort. They won't say it out, but your calm assurance undermines their identity. They wonder why they aren't as secure as you are. It's not like you're trying to compete. You simply exist, and their very presence serves as an unwelcome mirror. They can't take their eyes off it. Number 2, they don't understand why you're not seeking affirmation. The majority of individuals are hooked to being noticed. They require likes, accolades, and regular reinforcement. Some evidence that they matter. They rely on external validation like it was gasoline. But you don't behave like that. You do not need applause to feel valued. That shocks people. It makes them feel invisible when you're present, since you're not playing the same validation game they do. You aren't always striving to prove yourself, which confuses people. They don't comprehend how someone can go through life so calmly, undisturbed by whether or not others approve. That kind of self-possession is uncommon and dangerous, because when someone does not want approval, they cannot be controlled. That makes you seem menacing in their eyes. You are not readily influenced, inspired, or affected by praise or criticism. You're focused and anchored, and it shows how unstable they are without continual input. When you choose not to seek attention, individuals begin to lose control of the situation. Your calm assurance can seem as arrogant to others, not because it is, but because it exposes their vulnerability. They mistake your tranquility for pride. They label you chilly because they have no idea what calmness looks like. They claim you seem distant, not comprehending that emotional independence does not imply distance. It's about discipline. They can't acknowledge this. They envy your independence from addiction. You're not looking for approval, not bending to fit in, nor shrinking to make others comfortable. That freedom strikes a chord. It shows how imprisoned they are in their want to be loved. And the worst part? They can't understand how you became that way. You're not too noisy. You are not seeking attention, but you're memorable. They want your peace, not your discipline. They want your confidence, not your solitude. And that little distinction is what drives them insane. Number 3, you can see through the masks, which makes you dangerous. People are uncomfortable with you because they know you see through them. You do not call it out. You do not humiliate anybody, but your quiet is as vivid as X-ray vision. You notice the tone changes, the artificial laughter, and the forced excitement. You track the falsehoods they tell others and the ones they tell themselves. And with that degree of knowledge, you pose a danger. Not because you do anything with it, but because they know and you know. Most individuals go about wearing masks, seeming to be more confident, accomplished, and organized than they are. That works for them in large gatherings of individuals who are not paying attention. However, it does not fall on you. You're not deceived by the surface. You read energy rather than simply words. You can sense the terror behind their attitude, the anguish behind their grin, and the uncertainty behind their pride. What upsets them the most is that they did not tell you. You simply knew. That kind of insight makes individuals feel vulnerable. Even when you don't say anything, you're the kind of person they can't lie to without feeling exposed. And this worries them because they don't want to face who they really are, especially not in the company of someone who can see it objectively. They would rather label you odd, too intense, or too quiet, than confess that you had them confront aspects of themselves they have been avoiding. You become the walking mirror they never asked for. It is not about ego. It is all about awareness. You pay attention to what individuals believe they have concealed. You notice what others miss. That is not something you turn on. It's just how you're wired. And since you don't expose them, your silence makes matters worse. Do you know? But you don't say. And it makes people question how much you've actually learned. Fear isn't merely seen. The dread is being understood. And in a world when everyone is faking it, being with someone who sees the truth calmly and plainly might be disconcerting. This is why you make people anxious. Number 4, you don't flex because you are the flex. You do not boast. You do not over-explain. You don't dress up your wins and captions or make every little accomplishment into a spectacle. You simply live. You act in a manner that does not seek attention, but rather compels respect. And in a culture preoccupied with bragging, that type of silent power is very disturbing. People don't comprehend how someone can be so calm, competent, and unconcerned all at once. They don't understand how someone can achieve so much while saying so little. But you've realized something that others haven't. Real power does not need promotion. Your life is not designed to demonstrate to others that you are successful. You are not here to persuade anybody of your value. You've completed the task. You are the work. Everything is about you. How you hold yourself, think, and move speaks louder than any post could. And that's why people twitch. They've been trained that noise equals value, that the louder you are, the more important you seem. But you are a live counterpoint to that myth. You do it without saying so. You come without announcing it. And that is irrefutable. You enter into rooms and change dynamics without trying. You're not seeking for a stage, yet people seem to notice what you're doing. You aren't interested in the spotlight, yet it follows you. That is not luck. That is presence. That is substance. And in a society saturated with performance, your genuineness is disruptive. You are a reminder that mastery does not shout. Number 5, your work is a mirror that reflects their inner turmoil. Your component does not just make you strong. It makes people uneasy, because being calm, focused, and unshaken mirrors everything they aren't. Your quietness is not passive. It is noisy in its own way. It discreetly reveals the cacophony that exists inside them. And without saying anything, you turn into a mirror. They are unable to flee. One that reflects back all the inner turmoil they've been attempting to avoid. You aren't responding. You're not vying for attention or over-explaining your limits. You just exist in a state. They haven't found out how to reach, which bothers them. Your emotional control does not imply that you do not feel anything. It indicates that you've mastered how to reply. That kind of self-possession is really unusual. Things make people feel uncomfortable, particularly if their identity is dependent on drama, conflict, or affirmation. People who are used to turmoil will want to instill serenity, not because you have done anything wrong, but because your equilibrium interrupts their functioning. Your placid demeanor makes their overreactions seem silly. Your ability to remain collected highlights their impulsiveness. They want to shake you not because they dislike you, but because they need to show to themselves that your art is not genuine. Because if that is true, they will be compelled to admit that they are the ones out of control. That's why they pick on you. That is why people doubt your motivations, silence, and choices. They want to stir something, anything, to bring you down to their level. Because as long as you remain grounded, they feel vulnerable. You don't need to mention they're chaotic. Your presence demonstrates it, and it is enough to make people despise you. You didn't ask to be the mirror, but once you are, people either level up or react negatively. Number 6, you do not compete. You rule quietly. You don't spend energy trying to outperform anybody since you're not even playing the same game, while others are mired in petty competition, attempting to show who is superior. Louder, quicker, and more spectacular. You're someplace else, moving with purpose. You're not attempting to steal the throne because you're too busy constructing the kingdom. That is what people do not grasp. You aren't watching the race. You created the race, and now you have outgrown it. Your thinking is different. You are not motivated by ego. You don't need to outperform everyone. You don't want to be better than them. You're determined to outperform yourself from the previous day. That amount of self-direction makes you unpredictable and unconcerned. And they despise it. They seek to drag you into their drama, contests, and little power struggles. But you do not bite. Their subtle inability to interact makes them feel tiny, insignificant, and invisible. Because if you're not attempting to beat them, what does that say about their significance? Your stillness among their commotion is a powerful act. They cannot decipher. They anticipate noise, ego, and flexing, but you do not offer them any of it. You move smartly, low, and with purpose, and yet, your outcomes speak for themselves. They don't see you hustle, they watch you ascend. That paradox confuses them because they are doing everything to get recognized, yet you are being noticed for doing everything differently. You dominate not by overwhelming others, but by outlasting them in their thinking and growth. And because your success does not depend on their approval, they believe they don't matter in your world. That invisibility burns because, in reality, they are not competing with you. They are fighting for your attention, emotion, and affirmation. And you're not giving it to them out of malice, but because you've just moved beyond the need to prove anything. You do not compete. You create. And this is what makes you untouchable. Number 7. Your tenacity makes their explanations seem weak. You've gone through experiences that would break most people, and you didn't just survive. You achieved a higher level. You took the knocks. You learned your lessons and continued going without revealing your grief to the public. That quiet rebound power, it makes people uneasy, not because you hurl it at them, but because it causes them to face the truth about themselves. That they've been using the same excuses for years while you've quietly grown out of yours. They disintegrate at the first indication of strain, retreating rather than growing. They blame their situation, the time, other people, or anything except themselves. And then they see you showing up, maturing, and moving ahead with no handouts, shortcuts, or audience. It stings because you don't demonstrate your resilience. You're not outspoken about your struggles, yet your progress reveals their stagnation. Your adaptability makes their powerlessness seem like a choice. They are aware of this at their core. What confuses them is the fact that you are not waiting for ideal circumstances. You pass through the flames while they wait for the rain to cease. They are immobilized by dread, while you have learned how to dance with it. You have been misjudged, disregarded, and even counted out. However, you did not fold. You did not seek sympathy. You converted pressure into gasoline. And that kind of power cannot be taught. It's acquired via quiet, tested in secret, and only revealed when the findings cannot be ignored. And here is when the resentment sets in. Because your resilience makes their comfort zones appear like prisons. It reminds them that what they call difficult is just where you began, and what they term impossible is what you have already overcome. They won't say it out, but your strength amplifies their justifications in their own minds. You don't flaunt your scars. You wear them like armor. And every time you stand without making a commotion or receiving praise, you discreetly reveal what they have been avoiding. The work. Number 8. They examine you like a puzzle. They will never solve. People are used to classifications, labels, and boxes. They want to understand what they're dealing with so that they can feel in control. But you do not fit into any mold. You're too layered, too flowing, and too authentic. And this drives them nuts. They keep a careful eye on you, seeking to figure you out and break the code. However, the longer people gaze, the more puzzled they get. Because you don't follow the conventional guidelines. You move with purpose, not attention. They cannot foresee your next move since you do not communicate it. You are not out here announcing your goals or attempting to prove something. You are calm, attentive, and exact. 1 minute you're still, the next you've made a significant change without notice. Unpredictability makes people anxious. It disrupts their feeling of control. You are not chaotic. You are unreadable. And that distinction is significant. They attempt to analyze you. They toss assumptions at you, hoping that something would stick. They believe you are distant, haughty, or excessively silent because they are the only tools they have to attempt to comprehend you. But the labels don't fit. And there is the issue. You are not one thing. You're not easily defined. And it makes you a threat to individuals who depend on predictability to feel safe. What terrifies them the most is that they are unsure how to impact you. They don't know if you're impressed, irritated, inspired, or indifferent. And the uncertainty bites at them. Because if they don't understand you, they can't control you. They have no influence over how or if you will reply. That type of mystery is more than simply interesting. It's unnerving, particularly for folks who are used to being the brightest or most powerful in the room. You follow your own beat. You answer to someone greater than yourself. And since they don't understand how or why you move the way you do, they get obsessed with it. They study. You scrutinize and speak about yourself. But the fact is that they will never solve you because you were never designed to be comprehended by brains that need everything to be easy. Number 9. You attract rather than pursue. Naturally, you don't rush for acceptance or want to be recognized. Instead, you are confident in who you are, and people naturally draw toward you, while others hustle, frantically seeking approval as if it were a finish line. You are already ahead since your energy is not forced. It is magnetic. You attract not because you yell the loudest or shine the brightest, but because your mission is so deeply ingrained in you that it draws people in without effort. This kind of appeal disturbs those who are continuously competing for a spot at the table. They view you as calm and grounded, and it helps them reconsider their own frenzied pace. They hustle, wanting to be seen as significant or special, while you embody such qualities easily. That contrast makes them seem disposable, as if they are merely noise in the background of your existence. You are a lighthouse as others throw signals in the dark. Your sincerity shows through with neither gloss or pretension. It's raw, authentic, and consistent. And consistency is a rare commodity in a culture preoccupied with performance and appearance. When you're grounded in purpose, you don't need to show your value. People can perceive the profound alignment. Even if they don't comprehend it, they see that you aren't here to satisfy anybody. You are here to live your truth. And that fact is more compelling than any frantic effort. This magnetic energy makes people uneasy because it emphasizes their own uncertainties. While others try to get your attention, you dominate it by just being yourself. They feel like outsiders, watching from the sidelines, uncertain whether they'll ever reach the degree of honesty you represent. And the worst part? You do not need their permission to continue shining. You have already picked yourself first, and it is the kind of power that cannot be purchased or replicated. Number 10, you terrify without intention. That's what hurts the most. You don't intend to intimidate. Nonetheless, you do it simply. It's not about power struggles or attempting to control a room. It's just who you are, unedited, unapologetic, and authentic. And such honesty strikes individuals where it hurts the most, their ego. When you come up fully yourself, without masks or apologies, you reveal all of the pretenses that people use to feel important or comfortable. Your sincerity does not just make folks uncomfortable. It dismantles the carefully constructed facade that they hide behind. They weren't anticipating such direct honesty. They want to measure you up, put you in a box, or discard you swiftly, but you don't fit the bill. Instead, you are really present. Challenges their whole worldview. They see that their phony bravado, inflated tales, and need for continual praise pale in comparison to your serene confidence. And since you're not putting on a show, they can't respond with the typical insulting or outshining techniques. You're impervious to the normal games, leaving them vying for dominance. The saddest thing for them is that you are unaware of the impact you make. You are not attempting to make anybody feel tiny, but your confidence and tranquility without effort amplify their fears. Your life becomes an unsaid challenge. Be genuine or keep mute. And that's terrible for individuals who spend the majority of their time pretending to prefer an open challenge to the mirror you hold up by just being yourself. That's why they respond so strongly. You strip them naked without saying a word. You are not their adversary, but you do become their most formidable opponent. You do not intimidate by force or loudness. You intimidate with the truth, and the truth may hurt someone more than any insult. Number 1, your concentration is unwavering, and it is a rare power in a society saturated with noise, continuous scrolling, and continual interruptions. Your ability to maintain concentrate is nothing short of revolutionary. While most people's attention wander from one bright object to another, you've learned the unusual knack of focusing on what genuinely counts. That type of unwavering attention does more than merely increase your effectiveness. It makes you scary to everyone around you because your calm contrasts sharply with their own chaotic life. They don't comprehend how you fight distraction. They see you peacefully moving along, unaffected by drama, social media noise, or the need to perform continuously. You work on a different frequency, focused on purpose rather than immediate reward, and that degree of discipline reveals how far they've strayed from their own objectives and aspirations. It's as if you're a living reminder of what may be, and that reminder is unpleasant. Your attention makes others nervous because it reveals their flaws. When you sit calmly, working steadily toward your goal, others fidget, hunt for excuses, or attempt to derail you. They seek to draw you into their pandemonium. Because if you remain in there, diversions and excuses will seem even more pointless. Your capacity to focus and follow through despite obstacles, procrastination, and dispersed energy. What's more daunting is that your attention isn't only on working harder. It's about being clear, knowing what to ignore, what to say no to, and when to save energy. You are not merely busy, you are intentional. And in a workplace that values activity above outcomes, your intentionality challenges the current quo. It pushes individuals to consider how much of their time is spent pursuing worthless diversions. Your concentration is a unique ability because it is a manifestation of self-respect and self-control, and witnessing you value yourself in this manner makes others painfully aware of how often they dishonor their own potential. That's why your existence disturbs them. You reflect their lack of discipline, and there's no escaping from that reality. You are not loud because you are listening, calculating, learning. You are silent. However, it is not because you are bashful or hesitant. It's because you're watching with purpose, while some fill every stillness with noise. attempting to establish their value or distract from their fears. You are systematically assimilating everything around you. You listen not just to reply, but also to really comprehend. You gather knowledge like a great chess player, examining the board and predicting moves before they occur. This kind of calm calculating makes people anxious. They don't understand you're processing considerably more than you admit. They are oversharing and impulsive. Reactions become your pattern for navigating, influencing, or just staying out of harm's path. They show their flaws via their words and deeds, while you keep your cards close to your chest, analyzing and adapting precisely. Your quiet is not nothingness. It is power. It indicates you're not spending time on petty drama or pointless conversation. Instead, you are honing your thoughts and tactics. You're discovering what makes people tick, what motivates them, and where the true power resides. And that foresight puts you in charge, even when it seems you're not doing anything. People get uncomfortable in that type of calm because it is uncertain. They have no idea what you've picked up or when you'll make your move. Meanwhile, they disclose their thoughts and sentiments like open books, revealing their objectives without hesitation. You, on the other hand, are the closed book, unreadable and unknown, making you a mystery that they cannot solve, which is both exciting and terrifying. Being the listener entails constantly being 10 steps ahead of the game, molding it discreetly rather than simply responding. You aren't simply present. You are preparing, calculating, and studying, making the most of each opportunity. That is why your stillness is more than simply silence. It is an indication that you are always prepared, always attentive, and always a danger to those who underestimate you. They transfer their weaknesses onto you since you do not display yours. Your strength isn't loud or obvious. It is founded on a foundation of self-containment that most people find perplexing. You don't flaunt your flaws or seek sympathy by displaying them. Instead, you keep your inner struggles hidden, controlling your emotions with a discipline that seems almost inhuman to others around you. That amount of control makes them uncomfortable since it emphasizes their reliance on external affirmation and emotional displays. When you don't disclose your flaws, people begin to fill in the gaps for themselves. But with their own anxieties, they project their worries, doubts, and shortcomings onto you because they can't imagine someone who doesn't need to bleed or overshare in order to be seen or understood. They see your serenity as a danger. It challenges their perceptions of what strong looks like, pushing them to face their own inner turbulence, which they are unable to manage. So people term you cold, haughty, unapproachable, or too much. These designations don't represent who you are. They serve as defense barriers, explaining why you do not meet their emotional expectations. They want you to be vulnerable on their terms, demonstrating vulnerability so that they may feel superior or connected. But you won't give them that power. Your own confinement is a fortress that compels others to confront their own vulnerability. It disturbs them because it implies that you don't need their validation, sympathy, or acceptance to stand your ground. You've perfected the skill of being whole on your own terms, and your independence sets you apart in ways that other people don't grasp. In a culture addicted to emotional display, your calm resilience is revolutionary, and it terrifies them more than anything you could ever say. They're infatuated with you because they can't be you. They observe you from the sidelines, fixating on every move, choice, and quiet moment of your strength. It is not admiration. It's something dark. It's a knowing jealousy mixed with frustration, since they know they'll never be you. Not because you are superior in any superficial sense, but because you were constructed on a basis that others cannot even reach. You function on a distinct wavelength, one based on authenticity, resilience, and self-awareness. Qualities they've only fantasized about, but never dared to pursue. This addiction is not harmless. It is psychological torture for them. They see you living a reality that they are too afraid to face, and that dread undermines their sense of self. They're troubled by the realization that their own masks, justifications, and compromises hold them trapped, while you walk freely in your mission. Every time you show up as your true self, it acts as a spotlight, revealing the difference between who they are and who they want they could be. They attempt to copy you, replicate your behaviors, or analyze your movements in order to decipher your secret. But you're not a formula they can replicate. You're a living contradiction, complicated and genuine, that feeds their interest, fueled by frustration and the painful realization that meaningful change isn't about shortcuts or imitation. It's about the inner work they haven't completed or aren't prepared to confront. Their preoccupation on you reflects their own anxieties and limits. They seek to undermine you, question your motivations, or show vulnerabilities. Anything to soften the blow of your presence on their fragile ego. But the fact is that no matter how hard they try, they will never be able to become you because you are more than simply a representation of achievement or power. You are the epitome of something raw and uncommon. That is why authenticity existed without apologies. Whether they acknowledge it or not, they are fascinated. Because you are incredibly challenging. Their complete tale, the one they tell themselves to keep from being who they actually are. Being one of the selected few does not involve loud wins or flamboyant demonstrations. It's about embodying a power so deep that it shakes the world around you. Not because you want to disturb, but because your very existence is a quiet revolution. Your calm strength confronts the turbulence, your karmic spouse, and the unrest, and your genuineness dismantles the masks people rely on to survive. You move with a purpose beyond their comprehension, anchored in a reality they can't touch and are afraid to confront inside themselves. This is not only about strength. It's an uncommon level of self-mastery. A fortress constructed not on ego, but on steadfast discipline, unflinching concentration, and a refusal to be reduced by the noise. You do not pursue. You are attractive. You do not compete. You are dominant. You do not explain. You embody. And as a result, you are not just a force, but also an enigma, haunting those who are trapped in their own constraints while you climb silently. But inevitably, remember, you may use this ability as a beacon rather than a weapon, a lighthouse that inspires people to wake up, confront their own realities, and either move forward or step back. Because the selected ones do not seek permission or admiration, they just exist. And in that basic, unabashed existence is magnificence so tremendous that it cannot be overlooked, outshined, or shattered. So keep standing tall in your silent power, for even if they never completely comprehend you, your effect will last long beyond their loudness. And this is the ultimate win. If this message connected with you and you're ready to accept your own quiet power, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the insights that will help you develop. If this video encouraged you to think differently about power, you may like it. Leave a comment below. Describe how you embody your own unshakable calm. Also, remember to share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your contribution contributes to the formation of a community of the selected, individuals who rise silently yet have a tremendous influence. Let's continue to develop, learn, and dominate together. God bless you.